Hello everyone, I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our first fight for UFC Perth Australia, coming to us this Saturday, September 27th. Overall, I'm looking forward to the card. There's some very exciting matchups I have, and there are definitely going to be a lot of debuting fighters on this card as well. But besides that, I think the main event between Carlos Ulberg and Dominic Reyes is for sure a main event to watch out for, as whoever wins might be next in line for the title shot, as next week we'll have UFC 320 and the division and the light heavyweight title will be up for grabs, as well as Ankalaev takes on Pereira in the rematch. Plus you have Yuri versus Roundtree as a possible title eliminator. So we're definitely going to see how it all unfolds these next 2 weeks. But without further ado, let's get right on to our first fight. In our first fight, we have Brando Peričić versus Elisha Ellison. Peričić is 4-1 as a professional, and as you can see in his last 5 fights, he's 4-1. Ellison has basically just one more fight than him. He's 5-1 as a professional, 4-1 in his last 5 as well. Looking over at Brando, he actually has also some kickboxing experience, not just MMA experience, as you can watch. He has his own YouTube channel as well. If you want to go check it out, he has a lot of his fights there where you can watch. He fought in a promotion called Knees of Fury for kickboxing, and as well as he actually fought for a regional MMA title. Now that's his only MMA loss, but overall, his game revolves around aggressive striking and very active clinch game. And it's not the typical heavyweight clinch where it's like he presses you against the fence and just uses, say, his blubber, or if he were a blob, just smothers you against the fence. He actively looks to create damage in the clinch, whether that's knees, close range elbows, frame off, and then elbow with the same hand. Overall, it's a very aggressive clinch game, very aggressive striking game overall. And like most Australian MMA talent, he is training at City Kickboxing, so when it comes to his takedown defense, a lot of it revolves around being on the cage and using it to help stay stable, build height, and focusing more so on breaking grips than, say, sprawling to defend takedowns. Now, important to note, though, Brando and Ellison both are. This is going to be their UFC debuts. They didn't fight on the Contender Series. It's just straight their UFC debut. I suppose it's mostly to fill up the card with some Australian talent, as one of the problems when it comes to fighters who are not from Australia is the high tax rate they have. So it's often pretty tricky to get fighters who aren't from Australia to fight there. So it's definitely easier to bring in some of their local talent for their debuts. But with that being said, now for Elisha Ellison, he's a pretty good, well-rounded heavyweight, I would say. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple. He actually has some submissions, and pretty athletic guy, same as Brando. Now, instead of Brando, who has like just fighting experience, Ellison, I believe, was a former cop and bodyguard, and also works as a bodyguard, if I have that right. So he's used to pretty physically demanding jobs, I would say, or at the very least need to train in martial arts extensively for said jobs. The way the odds have it right now, Brando is a minus 185, Ellison is a plus 150. But you look at topology, a lot of people are picking Ellison. I believe the big reason is you look at Brando's only loss in his career. That was a bid at a regional title where he lost via submission. Now, granted, the guy he went against was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so that is something to keep in consideration. And even then, Brando had a lot of moments in the grappling where he was able to reverse positions or get framed with a wizard to stay on his feet. It's just by the second round, his opponent just had a little more in the gas tank to complete a takedown, switch positions, and then get the submission. The question is, can that happen again? As Ellison is pretty high level. I take that back. Not high level, but a high caliber athlete for heavyweight. And besides, both are pretty young at heavyweight, at like 30 and 28 respectively. It's just I do think Ellison is a pretty good athlete overall in terms of MMA heavyweight. And he's got these explosive takedowns, and he does have good grappling, as shown. You can look up, if you want to look him up, up. Just Google his name. You'll find some of his highlights. And he's like I said, a very explosive athlete. And he's got the wrestling where I do wonder if he can submit Brando, because he at least got like a high elbow guillotine. He's got rear naked choke. He can't submit his opposition. The trickiest part about two guys who are making their UFC debut and not even off the Contender Series, just like their UFC debuts, how good are they really at this level? But at the same time, they're fighting opponents who are essentially their level. I mean, combined fights, they have 11 total fights. Most guys in the Contender Series, if combined, their records have much more than that. But I don't think it's striker versus grappler. I do think it's well-rounded versus more or less a specialist. I mean, Brando, he can wrestle, but most of his wrestling comes from his takedown defense and grappling get-ups, while Ellison will actively pursue the ground to find a finish, not just on the feet. I guess it depends on how good Ellison can handle the clinch, because Brando, like I said, very mean clinch. Will actively hunt for submissions, actively look for knees, elbows. He's got good straights. Overall, his striking is very good, and his accuracy is very good as well. I don't think he has the power to say finish off guys with one clean shot. I've seen it in his fights. He doesn't have that type of power at heavyweight, and it's more so how Alexander Volkov just put it out there, like how he wins fights. Mostly it's a cumulative damage, not one shot finish. And that's certainly what Brando has, because I've seen him hit flush knees to the head of his opponents and they don't fall or get dropped, but they're clearly dazed and hurt. While Ellison has dropped more of his opponents than I've seen of Brando, but he'll actively attack them as they've been dropped and search for the submission or finish it off with ground and pound. Brando will more or less look for ground and pound, and he at least does have a submission, he does. But he'll mostly look for his opponents to get back up, and then he'll go after his opponents once they return to the feet. I think I might go for the underdog here and go for Ellison. My biggest reason is I like his grappling much more in this fight. And I said Brando's only loss to date is in MMA is by submission, and Ellison has a way to win via submission. So, besides stuttering over my words, I am going to pick Ellison, and I think my biggest reason is he has submissions in his game. Brando's lost by submission in the past, and Ellison's not afraid to pursue takedowns, and like I said, he's explosive enough where I can see him shooting for the takedown and just close the gap and submit Brando. So I am going to pick Ellison, and I think he can get a submission. I'm not sure exactly what the prop bet on that is, but overall I am picking the plus 150 underdog Ellison to win via submission and get the first win of the night. With that being said, that have been my predictions for this matchup. Next up we'll have Luana Carolina versus Michelle Montega. But with that being said, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. If you liked the video, comment and subscribe. I'd like to hear your thoughts. With that being said, I'll see you all next time.